Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have yet another Damtoys statue to review today. This is the second of two that I ordered, the first being the Carnotaurus, which you had seen previously. Now this one is their Quetzalcoatlus, and wow, this is unbelievable. I am easily just as impressed, if not more impressed with this as I was with the Carnotaurus, and look how insanely large this is. It makes my review station look so minuscule and tiny. Without question, it is just huge. Absolutely huge. It is so cool to have a Quetzalcoatlus now in a statue form, because previously I don't think any of the companies like Dinosaur Sideshow or Chronicle Collectibles, which I guess they only produce Jurassic Park type stuff, but any of these companies like that produce these more, I wouldn't really say mainstream, but more popular dinosaur statues have not made one. So it is awesome that Damtoys now has officially produced one. There are two different versions. I have the yellowish type version that you see here, and there is also a reddish version, which I wasn't really a big fan of. I much preferred this one. So my excitement level is honestly through the roof with this. I just received this the same day that I received the Carnotaurus, so I've had a little bit of time to check it out and just take it all in, and I am still just as impressed now a few days later as I was with the initial unboxing of it that I did when I had received them both the same day. However, now I am kind of running out of room in my house, even worse than I was before, because these statues are so beautiful that I just want to have them up and displayed. I unfortunately had to take quite a few of my Sideshow statues down to replace them with these Damtoys for right now until I have more room to actually display all of them. There is one thing which we'll go ahead and get closer right now that a lot of people don't really like about this, and I will definitely agree and say that it is quite the bummer as far as this statue goes, and at this point you can probably take in what the problem is, and that is that it is a very scaly version of Quetzalcoatlus. You don't see pycnofibers or anything like we would expect to see on the actual animal, so that is definitely a downside. But if you can look past the fact that there are no pycnofibers and it is a purely scaly version, it is actually quite unbelievable. Even the fact that you can see here, it's like just kind of hanging on to the side of the stones here, the side of this, I guess, cliff or waterfall type area, and you can see that it does in fact have the corpse of a dinosaur. I'm not entirely sure what species that is, but regardless, overall, even with the scaly version, I am head over heels in love with this. So let's go ahead and get a closer look at it right now. Now this is just so big that I'm not going to be able to put the camera on a tripod and have it stationary. This is just ridiculously large, so I'll do my best to try to hold this still. If you look here at the head sculpt and the beak, you can see that the detail of the beak is really, really nice, and you can also pick up on the fact that it has a very realistic shine, the exact type of shine that you would expect to see on the beak of like a bird. So the beak of this looks extremely realistic. It is also painted really nicely with like a brownish color on the underside, and it's got a very nice speckled type of an appearance with a black. And then if we look up here, it's got kind of that same brown, but also kind of like a little hint of red throughout with that same speckled type of a look as well. It really, really looks nice. I think it gives the beak so much color variation and really makes it look quite striking. If you look inside the mouth, you can see the tongue in there, but it's not super visible as the mouth is fairly closed. It's not open very far. I think the only thing honestly missing from the head here of the Quetzalcoatlus would be probably like a bloody appearance on the mouth, inside of the mouth, and maybe around the beak a little bit, because once you see the actual corpse of the dinosaur it was eating, you'll see that it is really quite torn apart. So I think you would probably see some blood here up on the face of the Quetzalcoatlus a little bit if we were just kind of being a little bit nitpicky and trying to pick out what would actually be happening if this were a real scene. But other than that, I think it looks great. Again, you've got this very scaly type of a look to the Quetzalcoatlus. The detail and sculpt here on the inside of the beak looks incredible. You can see the nostrils sculpted out there really quite nicely, painted with a blackish color, and there's just tons of paint variation throughout when it comes to the overall coloration of this Quetzalcoatlus. Even coming up here onto the crest, look how incredible the detail and sculpt is on the crest. There are so many cracks and creases throughout, looking very, very realistic. I love that yellowish color that they put up here on the top of the crest, along with that black that kind of outlines the outer edge and stripes in a little bit. Looks super flashy, but in a very realistic way. You've got a nice whitish color here that transitions from that brown up to the top of the head. If you look at the eyes are painted really, really nicely with a reddish type of a color, and then there's white around it and a black pupil. It looks really nice as well. Really beautiful detailing all around the eye, really nice sculpt work, and you can kind of see almost like a freckled type of an appearance with sort of like osteoderms all over the face that are painted with a reddish color. Then when you start to move down into the throat, look at all the wrinkles in the skin folds and everything all throughout the throat, and it's a beautiful reddish coloration there as well. And then you come down into the throat, it changes and transitions into like a yellowish color, but there's like some hints of red and almost like an orange throughout. So much color variation and color tone, it looks very, very realistic. Again, the neck being very scaly isn't really that appealing because again it would be pycnofibered, but it almost has like a snake type of an appearance to it. It really looks unbelievable. I love it, but again the pycnofibers would have definitely been the better choice to go with. As you move down into the chest, you can see that there's kind of like a spiking type of an ordeal here in the chest and some very large scales throughout the chest region. It definitely looks like a pretty muscular pterosaur. It has beautiful detailing throughout the skin flaps of the wing. Even the arm coming out here looks great. You can again see some more of those kind of little spikes, those reddish, almost like a freckled type osteoderm type deal there on the arm part, and you can really kind of get a feeling for like the skin stretching off of the arm of the pterosaur. It really looks great, as does in general the skin flap of the pterosaur's wing. You can see so much movement, so much skin folding going on that it just looks really, really nice. There are the claws of the hand, and they look really nice as well. Beautifully painted, given a slight gloss there to have them shine quite realistically. If we look at the underside of this wing over here, you can see how incredibly nice the paint application is. There is just so much going on all over the place as far as the paint goes. Nice spots and everything, and then there's kind of like this black border to the yellowish color, but even throughout the yellow you can get hints of like a reddish brown or an orangish brown and everything. There's just so much going on. It's really, really beautiful as far as the paint apps go of this pterosaur, and it's really nice to see a company like Damtoys producing statues that look so similar to the actual prototypes, because that's one thing I always fear when I buy a statue like this that comes painted, is that it won't look quite like the prototype. But honestly, I feel like this one really does, and the paint application is off the charts beautiful. It transitions here at the edge of the wing to a reddish coloration, almost like a reddish brown, and there's again so much color variation all over the place. It's really, really breathtaking to look at. Looking at the opposing side of the head, you can again see just how incredibly nice both sides of the head looks. It's really beautiful. You can get an idea of the wrinkling in the skin of the neck. Again, on this side, the very large scaling. And looking at the back of the neck, you can see that it has almost an armored type of an appearance that runs down the spinal column of the pterosaur, similar almost to the Carnotaurus, actually, that we had reviewed recently of the Damtoys statues. And look at all the beautiful paint variation throughout the body of this pterosaur. There is just so much paint variation. It looks so super realistic. And again, you can see just the skin stretching here off of the arm when it comes to the skin of the wing flap here. That looks so incredibly realistic. And the paint application on this side of the wing looks just as beautiful as it did on the opposing side. Such beautiful, striking colors, and really makes this thing look incredibly flashy, but everything just looks so legitimate. It doesn't look like it's a coloration I couldn't see a Quetzalcoatlus being. You can see the nails up here are really nicely done as well. And one thing that is really cool is that on the nails here, you can definitely pick up on the fact that there's kind of a bloody appearance to them, which is kind of what I was saying about the face. It's definitely consumed some of its prey, but at least on the claws, you can definitely see that there is a bloody type of a look to it, which is exactly what you would see if this were in fact feeding off of this dinosaur in real life. Again, some very nice sculpt work as far as the skin flap goes of the wing on this side. You can see the skin bending and stretching and everything all over the place, very realistically, exactly what you would expect to see when it comes to this pterosaur in the position that it's in. And you've got the feet down here, also look really nice. There's again some bloody type of coloration on the nails. Also down here, a little bit of a red variation to the nails in general. You can see that the feet look great as far as the sculpt work goes. Even the underside here of the pterosaur looks fantastic. So as far as the Quetzalcoatlus goes, it is off the charts beautiful. And I apologize if any of that was a little too loud, as I was pretty close to the camera due to there being a very limited amount of room when this Quetzalcoatlus is around. Now looking at the base is great. Just like the Carnotaurus's base, it looks extremely realistic. Look at just all the different rocks and kind of the soil, and there's just so much going on. You've got some vegetation kind of hiding in certain areas that you would think that maybe you could skip over and get away with not painting, but Damtoys does not do that. They go the extra mile as far as their statues, and you can even see color variation throughout the rocks, giving it such a beautiful lifelike appearance. Some more vegetation here and there. There's an area where the rock does fit in for the pterosaur, which also has some stupid styrofoam in it because the styrofoam is so hard to get rid of. I tried to blow it out, it won't go away. I'll have to get that out later. But anyway, you can see even up here on the top, the rocks look awesome. Everything looks beautiful. It's actually extremely heavy, as is actually the wooden base that goes under it is also really heavy. You can see on this side, looks beautiful. There's some more vegetation kind of hiding in the background there. And we come around to the front, you can see that the rocks look great the whole way out. Even down here again, look how insanely real that looks. It looks super, super realistic. And if you look here at the top, you can kind of get an idea of like some water running down. There's definitely a wet look to it. And I believe that's because this is supposed to be like a waterfall type of an area maybe, where the pterosaur is standing. So there is water running all over the place, even to the point where if you look down here, there's water running down along the rocks, and then you get down here and you can see the water actually building up down here on the bottom. So it looks really cool. I don't know if the intentions were to make it look like it's maybe on a rock ledge and it's raining, or if it's maybe near a waterfall, but regardless, it does look awesome. The water itself looks very legitimate, very realistic. It honestly looks like real water right here in front of me. And then when we get to the deceased dinosaur, you can see that the sculpt work of the dinosaur along with the paint application is also just as nice as the pterosaur. Actually, I'm going to put it down because I don't want to shake it too much showing you guys, but look how incredibly awesome this looks. The paint application on this is off the charts beautiful as well. Even on the spikes right here, just so much paint application has been added, so much paint variation. And then you get to the inside here of the dinosaur, and the internal organs just look super, super real. You can see some of the intestines kind of hanging out of the stomach there onto the leg, the rib cage, and it's all a huge bloody mess. It looks super cool in person, and there's a very nice gloss that's been given to it, making it look and shine really, really nicely, very realistically, exactly what you would expect to see on an actual deceased dinosaur that is currently being consumed by a Quetzalcoatlus. And then you can run down here, you can see the tail hanging off the side of the rock ledge there. There's some blood that's kind of been splattered down here as well, kind of leaking down from the dinosaur. And if we keep turning it, you can see that it's even gone to the point of tearing off the legs of this poor dinosaur, and now it's only got some bloody stumps, which again looks incredibly realistic. You've also got quite a bit of blood here running down along the rock ledge and down into the water. Super realistic, really cool. Even the underside of the pads of the feet of the dinosaur looks really, really nice. I'm not quite sure what species of dinosaur it is that the Quetzalcoatlus is consuming here, but I can definitely say that without question, it looks incredibly realistic. And then it also comes with this very nice wooden stand, which has kind of some of the styrofoam and stuff on it, but it's insanely heavy, even heavier than the base. But here on the front, you can see Quetzalcoatlus Paleontology World Collection Series. And then if we look on the underside, same deal, tells you the year it was made. One thing that is really interesting about these Damtoy statues, though, is that they are limited editions, but they never tell you quite what the number of limited edition it is. So I don't know if there's any way to actually acquire that information, as I do love to know just how many of each of my statues are made if they are limited edition, but unfortunately there's no word as far as just how many of these or the Carnotaurus that there are. Now, adding the Quetzalcoatlus to the base is honestly a little bit of a task. My camera also doesn't want to focus on this part, but you slide the rocks down here into the base, and then you just have to push the rocks down. So it's not like the Carnotaurus where you had pegs to put into holes, but unfortunately it doesn't really fit perfectly, and this is probably the only other real downside to it. You can see the rock sits in there quite nicely, but I'm really pushing it down, and it doesn't go down any further, and there is still a slight gap there in the area that the rock goes in. Same deal with this side. I think I can get it down a little bit more, but not too much, and there is still a little bit of a gap, but it's not that big of a deal, honestly, due to the fact that this is a rock ledge, so the rocks are kind of all over the place. I don't really mind that very much, and once you take a step back, you really don't notice it. I'm going to try to push it down here a little bit further off camera, just to see if I can get it down without breaking it. Nope, that's about the extent of it, but regardless, it does still look amazing, even with that slight gap. Now, as far as a size goes, there's not really too much to do as far as a length or anything. We're really only worried about a height, because as far as a length, it's pretty slim. It's just really high. If we go from the ground to the top of the wing, when it's up here on the base, you're looking at about 22 inches, maybe even a little bit over, or just a hair under 57 centimeters. So that is incredibly huge for a size comparison. Here is Mr. Papo T-Rex, and here is our Quetzalcoatlus. So you can definitely get an idea now that this absolutely towers over Mr. Papo T-Rex, and you should also be able to get a good idea of how unbelievably large this statue is. It is just massive. So this is my second of the Damtoys full-bodied dinosaur, well, I guess this isn't a dinosaur, but prehistoric statues. There was also previously a Smilodon, which had two different versions, but unfortunately I did not get a hold of that one. But now that I have the Carnotaurus and Quetzalcoatlus, I couldn't be happier. This is unbelievably nice, and I will say that without question, this is the type of thing that is a real head turner. When somebody walks in your room and they see something like this, it's going to immediately draw the attention of anybody that is around to it, because it is just so unbelievably cool. It's a very interesting looking scene straight out of history, with a very brutal dose of reality to it when it comes to the gore that is included here with this poor unfortunate deceased dinosaur, but it really adds so much to the overall scene. Not to mention the Quetzalcoatlus is just pure beauty. I think everything from the sculpt to the paint application on it is just off the charts magnificent. Every ounce of detail when it comes to the movement is so incredibly well shown throughout the sculpt that it is pretty much sculpted to perfection, as far as including the movement of the pterosaur throughout. Again, the only real downside, in my opinion, to the sculpt is the fact that it is a scaly version of a Quetzalcoatlus and not a pycnofibered version like you would imagine you would actually find. But it is still, without question, an unbelievable looking Quetzalcoatlus, even if it does have that inaccuracy. And everything from the pterosaur itself to the poor deceased dinosaur to the stone base, it's all painted to perfection. I love the fact that it's also kind of on like a waterfall type area, including water. I really enjoy having water on the base of any type of a statue. I think it helps to give it a very cool, realistic look, and also a little bit of flashiness to it, because it just adds that little extra bit of awesomeness to your statue. So I really do love the fact that the water is included, and I also love the fact that they did not hold back at all when it comes to including the gore and the blood kind of leaking down of the deceased dinosaur and everything. This whole statue is just absolutely amazing, and I think it honestly might be even a little better than the Carnotaurus that I've recently received from Damtoys, just a little bit. So if you do want to buy one of these, unfortunately this version here is sold out. However, you can join a waitlist on Sideshow's website in case somebody cancels their order, and you can pick one up for yourself that way. Or you can also purchase the reddish version because I do believe the reddish version is still in stock, or you can still order it at least, but I don't know for how long. I think the last time I had looked at it that it was pretty low on stock, so it's probably not going to last very long. That means that if you are interested in getting a hold of one of these, whether it be this one or the red version, you definitely want to get on ordering the red version, and you definitely want to get on joining that wait list for this version in case it does open up and somebody decides to cancel their order. But honestly, with how beautiful this looks, I really couldn't possibly see anybody wanting to cancel this because it is absolutely awesome. So I will include links to both of these on Sideshow's website, whether it be this version that you can join the waitlist for or the reddish version that I do believe you can still buy. So check the description, but before you do that, don't forget to please like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell to be notified of any future videos, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.